I'm Will Hedrick.
And I'm Jordan Schaffer.
And this is Dog Ears and Timestamps, a Game of Thrones podcast.
Yeah, dude, and it couldn't have gotten more dark. Like, literally, and and we were fighting, the physical embodiment of darkness, you know?
Yeah.
So, dude, literally, though, it was so dark that I didn't know what was going on for the first, 20 minutes. It was frustratingly dark.
Those have been all the news articles on the internet today as well, as everybody's complaining about how dark it was.
Yeah, and I mean, after the first 20 minutes or whatever, I think they might have realized it was too dark, or maybe they just were fighting with fires next to them because they're more inside of Winterfell, so maybe it made more sense to have more light later on, which could be just literally why they did it that way, because of where they were positioned in the fighting. If you had great lighting the whole time, it might have not made as much sense, I guess. I don't know. But, yeah, it was just, I mean, after we got a little bit more light and we saw more of what was going on, I was like, okay, this is cool. I mean,
I think they were trying to make it scary where you just couldn't see what was happening. And then especially for that Dothraki scene where they ran up to them and then the fire started going out.
With their flame swords.
Yeah. It's just, I think HBO needs to realize it's a streaming service first now. And when you stream it, the compression is awful. On the blacks
it's so
just
bad.
So hard.
It's just giant Lego blocks in the screen.
It looks so bad.
Interesting. Yeah, I watched it after the fact. I didn't watch it live with everybody else.
But you still streamed it though, right?
Yeah, but it was fine. It didn't have any pixelation or anything. So I assume maybe it
I'm sure you still had it. You might not have just noticed it as much.
Maybe.
It's something in the blacks. It's just hard to differentiate anything when it's that dark.
No, I did have trouble, so yeah, I agree.
It's also an inherently worse experience, or not inherently worse, but it exacerbates the fact that we're watching it on 4K TVs.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Anyways, who are you?
Oh yeah, I am guest Kenneth Garman.
He's back. 2 weeks in a row.
It's a new record.
World record for guests on this show.
Yeah.
Returning favorite. Mm-hmm. Nice. Dude, so what'd you think? Would you like it?
The more I think about it, no.
Okay.
I didn't like it as much.
As much as the other episodes, or as much as you thought?
Well, so I gave last week, I don't know if we care about ratings, but last week I was like 8 out of 10 last week. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of expecting this next episode to be big and satisfying. It was big. I wasn't that satisfied with it. I think most of it was a lot of teasing of people dying.
Yeah.
And then not a lot of people dying. And then the Night King dies. Y'all were talking about, y'all were saying last week the Night King's just going to die in this episode. And I didn't want that to happen. I wanted more explanation of who he was, what his purpose is, what he wants to do. And we didn't get any of that. He's apparently just an evil asshole who wants to kill everyone. And that's it.
Yeah, I mean, unless there's some bigger purpose to the wall coming down, and maybe it's showing the whole country is going to have to reform and rebuild everything that we knew literally from the beginning, because that's something the Seven Kingdoms do. You banish somebody to the wall to give them their second chance. So maybe there's some sort of reform, and that maybe symbolizes a little bit of it.
Well, I think that all went out the window when we killed the representation of evil 3 episodes in.
Yeah. What do you mean? I don't know.
That's not what it's about anymore. And
why?
Because no one gives a shit. That's why. Because the only thing that matters in this show is the Game of Thrones. That is all that they've ever cared about.
Dude,
that is all that the viewer cares about. Yeah. There doesn't have to be an explanation for anything. There's no... Now that the evil is dead, there's nothing to band together against. And to give up on, petty things and realize we need to reform society and all that stuff. None of that matters. The only thing that matters is who sits on the Iron Throne.
Well, yeah, that's what matters to the masses, I guess. So that's what they're going to show.
Well, it's not even no one gives a shit about what the masses say either. Because we've watched this entire show and we read this entire series as well. Mm-hmm. Never even talking to any of the masses. It's only the named characters, people of the great houses. Dany has half a second where she's like, oh my god, we need to protect the people when she sees the slaves.
I meant the audience.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about how the story is even written as well. It's just there's no society means nothing.
No,
it's just what are these high power families? What are they doing to each other?
No, yeah, it really seems like society is only used as a tool to give people a little bit more depth to their character. Just like I was saying last week, how everybody had some sort of hardship. Mm-hmm. Hardship kind of included going through the dregs of society, and that seemed like the only the only tool that they use society for, like to show power and to show character growth, because there are obviously other, we're not just dealing with the rich and powerful, like we do have some lower level people. Like there are a few bastards that come in, but you're right, it's not like we're dealing with a horde of the masses of people. They could have made that relevant probably when they had the church kind of be a relevant character, but that was just kind of the thing that I think they created to kill Tommen, to facilitate the story.
So
and have
it's like an excuse to give Cersei someone internal as far as King's Landing is concerned, to fight. And then to get rid of several big characters.
I honestly liked how they did it. I thought it was cool.
I liked it too.
It was unexpected because it wasn't in the books, and some of the liberties they've taken, I'm sure I've said this before, but some of the liberties that they've taken for the show versus the book, like they've fused some characters, they've done things like the I don't even know what they're called, the guild, I just said them, the royal, the church, I forgot what they're called though.
Yeah,
I can't remember either.
It's the
Golden Dawn. I'm just kidding.
I can't remember either.
But yes, I mean, I don't know. It's I like some of the liberties they've taken, like making the church kind of like a new enemy just to facilitate a few things,
And honestly, like, cool. Cersei makes the enemy too. Like, she creates them. She gives them power and to fight. What's her name? The girl that she ends up blowing up in the end.
Oh yeah,
Marjorie. Yeah, Marjorie. The Tyrells.
Yeah, she wants to try and tear them apart as a family, and so So that is like some interesting writing, and that you create your own enemy with that. But then it's just like very easily dealt with, and like the only thing that Cersei loses is her son, which she had already known was going to happen anyway.
And you can kind of tell she gave up on that already.
Yeah, she didn't give a shit.
Yeah, I mean,
if she cared, she would have had somebody watching him.
Mm-hmm. Well, it seemed like after her prodigy child Joffrey was killed, like it seemed like she kind of didn't care. It seemed like
Joffrey being the firstborn, you can make the assumption that he's like the most precious one or whatever, but
he definitely was the most precious one. She didn't give a fuck about Marcella. Like she
did. I think she did.
I mean, not as much as Tyrion. Tyrion literally loved her and cared about her.
Oh yeah, not as much as Tyrion.
And Tyrion loved Tommen. He fucking hated Joffrey. Like it was vice versa.
Well, I think he loved Marcella and Tommen because Tommen was awful, or not because Joffrey was awful.
But
and also they were his nephew.
He gave him a fair chance too. I mean, he gave everyone a fair chance, and those were the only two that showed him any love out of the whole family, even And Joffrey was just corrupted by the parents, and he was just the little golden child of Cersei the whole time. So I feel like when he died, maybe she was just like, okay, the prophecy of all my kids dying.
Well, that's definitely when she started becoming more paranoid, because that was the first indication that prophecy was going to come true.
Right.
She had been like, it was like in the back of her mind forever, and she was, kind of disbelieving it or not wanting to be true, but she was afraid of it, blah, 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 and then it started happening.
I still think she didn't realize it was true until Marcella, though.
Probably not, yeah.
Because she wanted Jaime and Bronn to go get Marcella. Because
that's when we start getting, and I can't remember, but that's when we see that first flashback, right?
Yeah.
Was at that point.
Yeah, I think so.
As far as the show is
and then that was like the last time I think we see her cry was when she sees her die, or like coming on the boat,
Yeah.
But she loves and is really grasping at Tommen until like the fifth time that Tommen chooses Marjorie over her.
And then,
then she's like, well, he's gone to me anyways, so fuck it.
Yeah. So for this episode, like right when it started, I was just like, I want to see Ghost, and I have a feeling we're gonna run into the red lady, Melisandre. Yeah, I said those things to Bailey, and like the first two things that happen are like, freaking. We see Ghost, and I was like, yes, Ghost is back, and then he doesn't fight, but we see him, and then Melisandre's there, and then she cloaks all the Dothraki weapons in magic fire, and as that was happening, Will kind of corrected me on it, but I was watching and I was like, aren't the Dothraki like afraid of magic? Like, wouldn't that set all of them off? Like, probably, but being around Daenerys, Will was saying they probably are used to it, or at least have accepted magic as a new form of power, because they understand Khaleesi is born by fire, and can't be burned, and she shows power that none of them can even comprehend, because they would all die in an instant. So that's why they followed her, because she has this godly power, and so I could see maybe they're cool with magic now, but There's nothing to tell us that fire swords would light like a walker or a white or
It's
whatever
not
on fire.
immediately going to light it on fire.
Right, it wouldn't immediately light it on fire, and it wouldn't immediately light all of it on fire. I don't think. Like if you left the sword in there, you might kill one. I think, but it just seemed like such a weird thing to send the guys that are used to the summer and fighting on sand and shit, or not sand, but fighting in the heat. You send these guys in on horses
to run out first
dark. Into the darkness of the winter. With fire swords that we barely know are going to work. So it's just like, man, that seems kind of silly that Dany's sending her guys in first. But I mean, what else do you do? Just wait for them to get to the Unsullied? Because I guess that's the argument, is that the Dothraki are primarily horse combat, so if they just wait there for them to come, they might not. Yeah. That's the only way I can see that making sense. But I agree. It didn't.
Also, sensible tactics are not exciting for television and movies.
Yeah, honestly, because when Jorah, when he came back, I was like, okay, Jorah should have died if he was out there with the Dothraki.
I think everyone should have died out there. Like, Jorah should have died, Ghost should have died, and I think Ghost is still alive.
I feel like Ghost probably,
Ghost, the same thing that always happened. They ran out of CG budget, so Ghost just fucks off and does wolf stuff.
I'm pretty sure they just, put Ghost in this episode last second. Like, even after these last two episodes.
Oh, probably, yeah.
Because people were complaining, where's Ghost? And they're like, oh, we can just put him right here.
Yeah.
And he doesn't do anything.
Right.
They never show him again, never explain it.
Yeah. There was, in the books, they kind of, when Old Man Mormont, the one that was running the wall, Jeor, when he died, he had a raven, like a really big raven, and that raven kind of bonded with Jon when he became the Night's Watch commander. So there was also, in part of the book, it was talking about how he started to have his wolf dreams, and then he was also having bird dreams. So it was showing characteristics of being a skin changer like Bran, not just a warg where he could go into his wolf. And then there was when he went to go live with the wildlings, one of the guys even said, hey, you could be great at this. But then Jon ends up doing his focus on the people and the taking care of everything. And I think it so rather than throwing his full focus into becoming a great skin changer, which I think he had the potential to do, he ended up going another route, which is cool. So I don't think they're ever going to bring it back where Jon becomes a skin changer. Obviously, they're only 3 episodes. It's not going to be relevant that he would ever need to go into Ghost, I don't think.
No.
But I thought it was a little weird because that seems like it would be kind of an important bond that he would share with that raven. But I don't even know if, obviously we don't have any more books to know, and Jon is dead at the end of the book. So we're not even supposed to know that he comes back. But it was just interesting. So because later on, it showed Bran changing into all those ravens, and then nothing happened. I know. So I was
just an excuse to show us that the Night King was on the dragon above.
Yeah,
that's the only reason that was there.
Yeah, I guess I just wanted a little bit of recognition for Jon having the potential to have the power, but I guess they all got a little bit of recognition because Arya got a little recognition, she was having wolf dreams. Partially the reason she probably never lost herself and became truly faceless was because of Nymeria having wolf dreams, and because she didn't get rid of Needle. So those things kept her grounded as Arya, so she could never forget who she was. But I don't know. I thought that obviously it didn't matter for the episode, but I saw Ghost and I kind of wanted something to happen, and then
even Bran warging into him or something,
yeah. And I was telling Will there was a scene where Drogon flies over and they save Jon from a fight. And then Jon looks at Drogon and he's like, Bran! I thought he was talking to Drogon because Bran had become the dragon. I was like, what a weird way to tell us that. And they obviously didn't. He was like, I gotta go save Bran. She's like, okay, do it. And then dragon.
And then she doesn't take back off. And lets all the fucking dead get on the dragon. What? That was just a reason to get her off the dragon, so that then she could almost die, and then Jorah comes to save her, but because he's the only one fighting right there, he gets to die. So it just sucks whenever, everything is, devised, right, in all storytelling. Everything serves the purpose of bringing you to the next thing. But when it's that transparent, you're like, fuck off.
Yeah. Yeah. It's they can't just have anybody die a normal death either. They have to have everybody die heroically. I know this is probably not a popular opinion, but that little girl, the
Anna Mormont.
Yeah, dude. She would never have killed the giant, dude. Never in a million years can I imagine a giant picking up a little child and putting it within arm's reach of its eyeball. I would never put anything within arm's reach of my eyeball if I was picking it up to kill it. You know what I mean?
I thought it was going to eat her
Yeah,
for a
I think that's
second.
what they were going for. Is they were going for it to make it look like it was going to bite her in
She
half.
was like
Yeah.
dead already, and giants don't.
It
eat
doesn't
people.
have. It doesn't have
Yeah, that
reasoning.
was-
It's dead.
Yeah, no, but giants don't eat.
They're not
people.
sentient.
And
They
none of
don't
them have been eating.
So it doesn't
They're
matter
not
that it doesn't
zombies.
do this or that. It's not sentient, and we've seen the undead bite at other people already as well.
Yeah, that's so weird. Yeah, I don't know. It just like whenever they started using themselves as like to get over the fire as like a bridge, they were sacrificing them. I was like, okay, so they're smarter than just mindless.
Well, it was the Night King.
That was the
told
Night
them
King
to
taking
do that.
control.
So then why doesn't this giant have instinct not to put it?
The Night King isn't taking
It's thinking
100%
then-
control of 100% of the dead all the time.
Yeah, but you'd think instinct if he had.
There is no instinct.
Yeah, well, I mean, if he's putting instinctual magic into all of them to make them fight, so he doesn't have to control all of them at once, you'd think he'd have a little bit of cunning in them, at least to not like to have them know one thing or another.
But you're trying to put rules into something where there are no rules, and we know that there's no rules.
I know. I just
They
didn't
keep
want the little
exhibiting
girl. I
that
just
over
didn't
the
want
past
her.
No,
I
but
just
I think
didn't want her to kill the giant.
your original point was that like they're making these big deaths for characters when they don't really need to.
Yeah.
and that was a perfect example of that where they picked her up after it like knocked her down and was like squishing people and could have
Yeah.
squished her, you know.
Or she should have died from getting knocked over.
I thought she was dead right there too.
And then she just runs out kind of drunk and crazy at it, and then...
I thought she could have at least just stabbed him in the back with it and killed it.
With a
I was
hand?
curious. I was
Yeah,
wondering, like,
could you just
would
stab it
that
in the
kill
hand?
her?
She runs out with like an axe that she gets.
I thought it was a little dagger.
You're right.
I felt
It
like it
wasn't
was.
an axe.
Or was it an
She
axe?
has a little dagger, is what she stabs him with.
Okay.
But when she's charging, she's got like
Yeah, because she runs out
medium-sized
so drunk
axe.
and... Yeah.
Okay.
And I thought that like it was. I was like, okay, well, obviously she dies right here. She's already suffered a grievous injury, but this is like her last stand or whatever. And the only reason she gets a last stand is because the audience loves this little, snarky character.
Yeah.
And so I thought that she would like just get beat away again, but like in that just come down with the axe, and because it's dragon glass that
It just
shatters
kill-
him or whatever.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, I didn't even trust that to happen because none of the other dead are dying that way.
Yeah, they seem to throw all the rules out the window for what was
Yeah.
killing them and what wasn't.
There were 3 things that died the way that we've been told that the dead die: the giant, the dragon, and then the king.
The actual Night King, yeah.
None of the other undead died in that fashion. They just got.
The dragon? What do you mean?
So whenever, well, he doesn't die. He doesn't die by getting stabbed or anything. But whenever the Night King dies, he then shatters and falls apart.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
So at least like in the style that we've been presented with, that was the only time it ever happened. But like, and I guess what is also the difference between the Night King, the
White
others,
Walkers.
which is a word we haven't heard since season 1,
yeah.
whites and the dead. Is there a difference between those different things? Do they follow different rules? If so, why did they spend so much time making all this dragon glass for as many people as they could? Why
then
was
not give
Daenerys
any to
able to
the
kill
Dothraki?
any of the undead with that sword that she picked up from one of the undead? Because it wasn't dragon glass or Valyrian steel. It's just, like, there were no rules.
Yeah,
Which is fine, but they need to... It's just stupid whenever they spend all this time coming up with things like, we need to find dragon glass.
The
Where
whole
can we
reason
find
he met
dragon
Dany,
glass?
yeah, that was the
And then
point.
all of a sudden it doesn't mean anything.
Right, yeah, it was
Just for the sake of having a huge spectacle that's a little bit easier to direct. Like, if you're going to spend that much time doing all this stuff and then spend a ton of time shooting this episode, then spend an equal amount of time making it follow the rules that you spent so much time studying.
I was confused because, I mean, I guess it makes sense that we could have killed all the Dothraki, or I don't know if we killed all of her Dothraki, but some of them we killed that way.
The extreme majority are dead.
It seemed just like it seemed like they didn't give him dragon glass. It seemed like they didn't give him...
I didn't think that they got dragon glass because I don't see how anybody in Westeros would have been able to forge an arak with at all. Because it's like not a weapon that they make over there.
Yeah.
So the Dothraki all had their araks and they were like, but they would never fight with anything else.
Why were
Yeah.
they going out first? Melisandre wasn't there. Like, they didn't have anything in writing that they were going to get fire on their swords or whatever.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
It's
why
just-
were they
why
running
are
out
they
first
going
for
out
that
It's
first?
just
reason?
all so
It's just
contrived.
like-
It didn't make it, yeah, and also I thought that they spent all that time getting dragon glass, so I thought that literally the easiest thing to do with dragon glass is take a sharp piece of it and put it on the end of your projectile stick.
Yeah,
And then shoot
arrows.
them at them. Yeah, I thought that literally all of their arrows were dragon glass arrows. So I thought we were going to see a
Right.
lot of explosions, a lot of glass explosions or whatever,
Yeah.
but didn't see any of that. They killed off Ed, which was Edmund Mott or whatever, like the guy
Yeah,
that was at
the current...
yeah, Night's Watch
So,
commander.
yeah, who all died? Ed,
two important people died.
Jorah and
Theon
Theon.
and Jorah.
Yeah.
And then we get
Like
two other
Lyanna
named
and-
character dies. Yeah, Lyanna Mormont and Ed.
Ed.
Those are all the... And Melisandre.
Oh,
But she
yeah,
ceased being
Melisandre,
important
yeah.
whenever they, banished her. She's just another named character.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of like that they solved that loose end, like...
I felt like it was already tied up. She was banished.
I know, but just the fact that, like, she doesn't exist anymore, it makes me feel like Azor Ahai or whatever, like, maybe that's not going to be relevant. I don't know. Maybe it'll
It's
matter
sort of
later,
like...
but...
I guess it can sort of, like, tie up the Red God thing.
That's kind of what I was thinking, is that it just tied a knot on that, like, okay, we're done with the Red God.
And they're never going to explain anything theologically, but I feel like the faceless God is the only God because it is all gods. Like, I think that's if there is a true religion in Worldos, then I think that's the true religion.
Yeah.
And so, like, the Red God stuff doesn't have to be wrapped up because there's, I don't know, it just doesn't
Because we already
matter.
have a God. Yeah, we already have a God. Beric Dondarrion or whatever, he died too, I think.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Forgot about
That was one part I kind of liked.
That was
like,
good. That was
you know,
good.
like he came in and this was his purpose,
And
the
he
whole
knew
time
it
was
and
like,
accepted it, and he
Yeah.
wasn't really afraid of death because every time he died, he lost a piece of him every time he came back. So he
Yeah.
was like less himself than he'd ever been, and this was his final true death. It was cool. I really liked that scene too.
Yeah.
I thought that was very cool. Sorry, I didn't mean. I got excited.
No.
I got excited
Yeah,
when you said it,
I wanted to what was there anything else y'all liked? Because we've been kind of bashing the episode the whole time.
I mean, I really liked Arya killing the Night King. I didn't see
like
it.
that too.
I didn't see it coming. I should have, because I mean, they literally implanted the Night King killing weapon on her from season 1. Like, they made a weapon relevant from. I mean, I guess Long Claw was relevant from season 1 too, but. Giving it to Arya, like, I guess I maybe should have seen that coming because it was Bran that gave it to her. Maybe he knew and saw that how they could win that way. But
I certainly didn't see it coming.
I never saw it. Yeah,
like in the grand scheme of things. But Melisandre was like, "You're gonna kill all these fuckers." And what do we say to death? And she's like, "Not today." And she runs off. And I was like, "Okay, well, she's gonna do something."
Yeah,
We'll find out. And then about 5 minutes later, I was like, we haven't seen Arya again.
I know.
And then certainly by the time we got to the Night King approaching Bran, I was like, we still haven't seen Arya.
I will say I felt very aware of that dagger on her hip the whole time because she never used it. The whole time.
Yeah, she was using her weird spear thing.
Yeah, and then she lost that, and she grabbed someone else's like dragon glass to kill a White Walker or something. I was like, why aren't you using the Valyrian steel dagger you have?
It's almost like she knew she wanted to make sure she held on to it for the biggest possible moment, whatever that ended up being, even if it wasn't the Night King.
Yeah,
like, if it was the last person that she killed, or if it was the Night King or one of his generals, the quote unquote others that, like I said, they haven't used that name since season 1.
Yeah.
What if she kills Cersei with that blade? The blade that was meant to kill Joffrey, or that was meant by Joffrey to kill Bran?
Well, by Littlefinger, right?
No.
Was it Joffrey?
Well, I mean, Littlefinger might have convinced Joffrey to do it, but...
Joffrey wasn't in power at that time.
Yeah.
I know, but he hated Bran, and he hated everybody. He wanted Bran dead, and he was the one that paid the guy to do it.
I could have sworn it was Littlefinger.
God, I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, it was Joffrey, because Joffrey...
It's different in the books than in the show, but I don't remember that at all.
They get it's a Valyrian steel dagger. That was one thing that in like George R. R. Martin's like talk that I went to. He said, like, this kind of doesn't make sense how I wrote it, but it works because it's going to be like a big storyline piece, because it doesn't make sense that Joffrey haphazardly grabs a Valyrian steel dagger from his pile of daggers to give to a mercenary to kill somebody. Right. But it is a Valyrian steel dagger, which is like the most rare metal in the world. So it doesn't make sense that he'd give him one of the most rare daggers in the world to a normal mercenary that he's never going to see again to kill Bran. But it's relevant because that dagger becomes, a dagger that we need later for the show because it's Valyrian steel. Mm-hmm. So he wrote it because it was going to be a relevant dagger because it's Valyrian steel, but later thinking back on it, he's like, it kind of doesn't make sense how I got it there because it doesn't make sense that Joffrey would grab a random dagger. I mean, that's so fucking meta. Like, it doesn't matter at all. But I mean, it could be different in the show too.
I was under the impression it was Littlefinger used that dagger because it was Tyrion's, or it was his at one point. He said that Tyrion won it.
It could be traced to Tyrion.
And it was because it was a traceable dagger so that he could get the Starks and the Lannisters fighting each other.
That's how it happens in the show.
Yeah. And maybe he did do that, and maybe he gave that dagger to Joffrey to Because I'm pretty sure it was Joffrey that told
Maybe so.
The more you say it, the more I feel like I remember that from the books.
Yeah.
I don't think that doesn't get mentioned. It's 100% Littlefinger in the show.
Okay. Then never mind.
But I had totally forgotten that.
Back to the episode. Brienne, I liked for deaths that they faked us out on. I was okay with them faking us. I was okay with them. I was okay with them faking us out for Brienne. It makes sense to me that she could get swarmed by a horde and then use her dope ass Valyrian steel sword to destroy all of them, because she's like the best swords person in this world right now. Arguably, maybe even better than Jaime was at his prime, but we don't know that because when she was fighting Jaime the one time, he was weak as hell, and she was supposed to capture him. She wasn't supposed to kill him, so she wasn't fighting full strength either. So arguably the best swords person in the show, I could see her getting overwhelmed and then getting out of it. But Sam getting overwhelmed, he should have died. He
was overwhelmed like the whole episode.
Yeah, the whole episode and every little thing.
And I kept hoping he was going to die.
Yeah.
I was so
he seemed like he should have.
And they literally did that to almost every character. I think they did do it to every character out on the field.
Everyone
was like getting overwhelmed.
Everyone had a slow-mo fight scene.
And then they cut away. They'd be like overwhelmed, cut away.
Grey Worm was on the front line, and then he was still alive later. So I was like, wait a minute, they're trained not to run. How did he leave the front line?
Well, he commands the Unsullied, so he had to fall back to give orders, especially because the plan was then to finish up the trench and have it lit, so he had to be part of that organization.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I guess there is an argument too that Grey Worm had something to live for now, so he could have a little bit of fear because he's in love with that pretty girl.
Missandei.
Yeah. It didn't seem like Daenerys was too upset with Jon in this episode. It seemed like she had kind of gotten over it for the time being.
They had a couple looks, I think. But
it seemed like their true bond outweighed everything.
I don't know. I think it might just be that there was literally tens of thousands of undead that were on their doorstep. Like, well, it doesn't matter what we think. We got to take care of this.
Yeah, I mean, if Dany was really ruthless,
and then certainly whenever she tried to burn the Night King, and the Night King was like, nah.
I thought there was going to be like an ice spear coming.
I thought that's what I thought. I was like,
away.
Move. Yeah. But then he was just trying to be like, cool, bro.
What did y'all think of the dragon fight? Like all the dragon fighting and stuff.
I just thought it was, exciting. It was pretty cool. I liked that whenever they're in the courtyard, or whenever Jon was in the courtyard with the dragon towards the end of the episode, there was like flames leaking out of his throat because Green Boy had bitten him on the throat whenever that fight kind of like resolved in the sky. So that was like a really interesting attention to detail.
That was one thing that annoyed me though when it was biting him. It had like the neck. It just like breathed fire on him. Wouldn't that have killed it? Or maybe not because it's a dragon? I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like it should have at least tried.
Maybe if they got on the inside, because even in How to Train Your Dragon, like he shot that little blast inside the other one as he was building up this giant vortex of flame, and then he blew him up from the inside.
We also don't know the rules of dragon fire, or like how it works.
Yeah. I mean, you would think that maybe a dragon would be impervious to fire.
Its own fire.
Yeah, or at least its brother's fire. Maybe,
or even just the process of breathing it. Like we don't know what that science is.
It's probably just magic.
You might not be able to do it while you're actively using your mouth.
Ooh,
like maybe that's kind of difficult. Maybe those two independent actions are difficult to get going at the same time. It's like rubbing your head or stomach and patting your head at the same time. Something like that.
Yeah. Well, Kenneth could have done it if he was a dragon. Yeah, man. I liked how it ended with Arya kind of killing the Night King. Not kind of. She for sure killed him. I don't really remember what else happened after that. Why am I drawing a blank?
Theon died. I guess that was before that. And then it was really just Melisandre.
Yeah, walking off.
She walks off and turns to dust or whatever.
Yeah. I think that was
it, the last scene was that.
Did we see Tormund die?
No.
So, right? Yeah, okay. No. And they kept alluding to like Tyrion dying, I feel like, even though I don't...
There was a hot minute that I thought Sansa and Tyrion were going to suicide pact.
I thought the same thing.
I thought
there was such a long, weird awkwardness in that silence that they were like looking at each other and they like pulled out their knives and they were looking at each other and I was like, oh my god, they're going to kill themselves.
I feel like that was something this whole episode. There's a lot of long, weird looks at other people. There wasn't a lot of dialogue. I felt like it was just a lot of looks.
I didn't get that moment that y'all thought with the suicide pact. But now that you bring it back to there, I think that probably was like the underlying theme. And then like they looked at each other a bunch, and then
they're like, now we're gonna fight.
Yeah, exactly. That probably is like the point of it. Like those subtle looks is to like make you think like, holy shit, they're gonna suicide each other. Like I thought that something was happening. Like.
Or even just to make any given person think any given thing.
Honestly, when they were bonding right there, I was like, boom, I'm right. They're going to raise the new kid to rule the kingdoms. Sansa's the winner. Tishy's even falling back in love with Tyrion. They're going to get remarried. This is all falling into place.
I think Tyrion dies still, but I do also still have a ton of money on Sansa living throughout the rest of it.
I have a strong feeling she's going to be the queen of everything, just because of the evidence that we've talked about from
ever since she started dressing in all black, I knew that she was going to last forever.
Once
she started owning it and being badass, I was
they made her like a super lovable character. Like last season or this season, one of these seasons, they made her really likable. And then there was like, this is stupid, probably like just fan theory stuff, but like right after the first episode, there was so much Sophie Turner in the media. Like it was so much like, oh, love her as an actress. Look at all this hardship she had to go through. People called her fat on the show, you know? And it's like she had to deal with lots of depression because of all this stuff was coming out about Sophie. And I was like, dude, like she's got to make it to she's got to be the biggest one. And then, I mean, I know timing and interviews and stuff don't matter, but it just seemed too weird to me that so much positive Sansa and Sophie Turner stuff came out at that time that she couldn't make it to the end. I know doesn't have any basis in anything, but in my own mind, I was like, they wouldn't have done that if she didn't make it. So I'm like dead set on her making it to the end.
I can see it.
And the fact just that she'd been groomed for it since the beginning, you know, like we had said that a while back, and I think whoever said that, one of us, I think that just made it kind of click. I think you had said something, Kenneth, that made me think, like, oh yeah, she was kind of like that she was always the one that was like meant to be a queen.
Yeah, she was always the one that wanted to be Lady Winterfell. Yeah, Lady of Winterfell.
In the books, whenever Catelyn dies at the Red Wedding, she like curses them. I mean, I think the Tully? No, who
the phrase?
She curses the phrase, and I guess they're all dead, so she got her curse fulfilled. But in the book, there's a character that she becomes who's like Lady Stoneheart, yeah, and
who does not exist in the show.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like she was written to be a dope ass character for revenge or whatever. Because I think she even gets like a legion of people following her. Like,
Thoros brings her back.
That's what it was.
Barrick's like, bring her back. I'll just die next time I die. And so then he dies, and Catelyn starts leading the Brotherhood.
That's what it was.
And then their whole thing is going to be, you know, whatever vengeance it is that she wants to do.
Yeah. So I was kind of hoping that maybe she'd come back and just like a little bit, so we get Lady. Damn, I forgot.
Stoneheart.
Thank you, Stoneheart for this, but I don't think it makes sense with the timing of the episode. It's not a character that we absolutely need. It might have been something that you know George R. R. Martin was writing to connect some of the lines, but we did it a different way with. Who knows what the church or whatever, but I don't know. I guess I just thought that, you know, something might happen with her because she's an unknown element in this storyline, but I guess they never brought her back to lead.
She would have had to come back 2 seasons ago.
Yeah, for her
to be anything.
Did you like what they did with the crypts?
I thought for sure that you were right. While we were watching the episode, I was like, dude, they're going to pass over the crypt.
Everyone's going to die up top, and the crypts are going to be all right.
Yeah, and
it was like completely wrong.
No, that's just...
I mean, it's just... I guess
it's like too obvious.
Well,
that they're just bringing them up from the dead.
Yeah.
As
it's
we
like
were talking...
way too obvious.
Yeah.
And even like with it being like too obvious, like how did they not think about that? I guess they have no choice though. Where else are you going to put the people that can't fight in this battle that's inevitably going to take up the rest of the castle?
Yeah. I mean, I never would have...
If you're not, like, having them retreat to a different city further south.
You'd think the keep would be the safer place than the crypt. I don't know why they kept on emphasizing the crypt.
Well, I think the crypts only have one entrance.
I guess that's pretty the main point.
And it didn't seem like as many people knew about how to get there, so it seemed like just a good hiding spot, but...
Yeah.
I mean, I never thought of them coming back, like the people that had been dead for a while. Like I never thought about them pulling them back. But then when the Night King started bringing the ones that they had killed on the battlefield back, and then they started busting out of the crypts, I was like, oh, okay. I didn't see that coming at all, even though you said it was obvious.
It felt super obvious to me.
Yeah, no, I didn't see that coming, and
especially with them being like, the crypts are super safe. The crypts are the safest place in Winterfell.
Yeah.
There's nothing that I could even imagine in a fantasy world that would be safer than any crypt in Westeros. Like
they should have had.
They kept saying it.
Yeah.
They should have had Ned come back. I thought he was going to come back for a minute.
I feel like they should have at least acknowledged some of the Starks that came back.
I mean, I think
it doesn't really
they
matter.
send his body
Like even
back,
if the
but I
first
think they
thing
put
that
his head on
punched
a
out
stick.
was like it was just
Was
like
it
a
Lyanna?
shot of Ned's statue,
Uh-huh.
and then like an arm punches out from underneath it.
But it
even
would've-
if that's all that we see, we'd be like you said, just acknowledging one of them. We see Ned again, everybody's like, "Oh shit!" And then they never actually have to show his zombie, but
I guess so.
you know,
Was the one that we saw like full up? Was that Lyanna Stark?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't even remember seeing one that actually came out. I just saw them
I
bust
think
their
there was at
hands
least
through.
one
I think
that we saw like.
there
full.
must have been one or two that we saw move, but I
Yeah.
really don't know. Who knows?
Yeah.
I hope Ghost stays in there. I don't think he will, but
It's like I was saying earlier in between recordings that, to my memory, Game of Thrones has only killed one character off screen. They're really good about it. There's no reason that they would suddenly
Who'd they kill
stick him
off
there.
screen?
Blackfish.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
He just went to go take a piss at the Red Wedding, and then we didn't hear about him until like 3 seasons later when somebody was just like offhandedly, "Yeah, we found him and we killed him."
Well, no, they made a kind of big deal about him because they went and talked to him. Blackfish. And then they had the whole thing where it's like, we have your son, Catelyn's brother. We're going to kill him unless you give us River Run or wherever he took. I think it took.
Oh,
River
that's
Run.
right. He did show up again.
They didn't
all
like
of a
kill him
sudden.
on
Yeah.
screen, but they talked about it and they made it a big deal. And he
Yeah.
was like, "I'm gonna stay and fight until I die."
Yeah.
It's kind of off screen, but
Well, his death was off screen.
yeah. I thought Rhaegal, the dragon, Jon's dragon, died for like the whole episode until like after he fell, like the dragon just like tripped up and fell. And I was like, "Oh, is he dead?" And they never showed him again.
Yeah. Because he costs too much to animate him, dude. I mean,
guess.
that's what it always
think-
is.
That's my main issue with this whole episode was the editing. Was my main gripe, I think. Like writing issues aside, I think just the editing of it was just so frustrating. Where they just kept on cutting away from stuff and not showing enough. And then you have the writing issues where I just wanted more information about the Night King and the White Walkers.
yeah. How quickly do you think in the next episode we're going to be like, all right, we're
Stuff.
regrouped, full health, on to our next quest?
How many people are alive in Winterfell?
That we
Like less
that
than
are-
1,000?
Oh,
Oh,
I was going to
probably.
say people that we know.
Greater
you know
than
what I mean?
1,000?
I feel like it's less. It seemed like just the main characters were left.
Right.
But it can't be that.
Yeah, because they were overrun. Like it
Yeah.
seemed like most of their like troops died.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm sure there are more Unsullied that we didn't see die. That they
Yeah.
have, you know.
Mm-hmm. I feel like less than 1,000.
If
for
they
sure.
brought over 3,000 Unsullied, or how many did they have? Did she traded 3,000 for a dragon or something, and then she
8,000.
killed him and then got 10?
I think she had 8,000 to start.
Okay, and then she had her Dothraki army, and then she regrouped and got an even bigger Dothraki army and brought them all over. So that's like at least 10,000 people that she had. Let's say 2,000 of them died in transit, you know? That's like an 8,000 people army, plus the Night's Watch, plus all the wildlings. So like maybe like even if we start off with 8,000, do you think they killed 4,000 other people or more? Like, do you
More,
think
I
they killed like 90%?
I feel like it's
yeah.
more.
More
Yeah.
than half.
Okay. Yeah. So maybe you still think 1,000 though, probably?
I think it might be... It wouldn't surprise me if it was less than 1,000.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I could believe that because they were definitely.
But I
like,
really don't know.
overrun.
I've got no idea.
I bet they mentioned it's going to be like right at 1,000 or something like that.
Right.
Yeah. I mean.
And they gotta go fight. I mean, the Golden Company alone is 20,000, right?
Yeah.
So...
Yeah. I mean,
This is where Tyrion gets to do his thing. Is
Yeah,
he's going
that's
to
a good
figure
point.
out some trick that, turns the tide or at least makes it an even playing field again.
He's gonna get the elephants.
He's gonna get the elephants. I don't know what exactly is going to happen. I think obviously more people are going to die. But I don't know how this nothing army takes on the 20,000 Golden Company plus what's left of the Lannister army.
That's probably an episode 5 thing, right? You think the next fight will be episode 5?
I mean, it's got to be, or at least it starts in episode 5 and ends in 6.
I wonder what they're going to do next episode. Just regroup and get everybody south, come up with a plan.
Well, we've got stuff that we've got to find out about the South because we've not talked to them for an episode. So we're going to get some sort of intrigue about Cersei and what's happening in King's Landing. Certainly with Greyjoy.
I forgot about Euron. Yeah.
And then there's going to be a lot of posturing and figuring out what the North wants and what that means for Dany. And what do they do? Because her and Jon still have to talk.
Are there any armies that weren't in Winterfell that
there
are
was
still
a couple of bannermen that didn't show up.
Okay. Yeah, like
whoever's in Deepwood Mott, which I can't remember.
But I mean, like just around Westeros, like Dorne. Are they gonna make a comeback?
Dorne exists.
Are they gone? Who's their leader now?
They don't have one.
Well, they still have a prince of Dorne, right?
No, they killed him.
Well, then it's the
whole royal family's dead.
Then it would be the Harpies or whatever.
They're
Are they
all
all dead?
They're all dead. Yeah.
Damn.
The whole royal family and everybody immediately linked to them, aside from servants, they're dead.
I mean, the Mama Snake Viper lady, she's probably still alive in the dungeon watching her daughter rot.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's how her torture is going.
Yeah. Forgot about that.
Sounds fun.
But the people of Dorne exist. Presumably the leaderless army of Dorne exists.
They're just having a grand old time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Dorne was one of the kingdoms that could never get taken by the Targaryens. That's why they were allowed to have princes still.
Right,
like, they had their own royal lineage, and you still had to call them the Prince of Dorne, even though there was the king in King's Landing, but he's not the...
Aside from Dorne, I mean, the people of Highgarden are still a thing.
But then
they don't have, like, the family's all dead. Their military or whatever men that they had must still exist because they never fought.
They might be able to get them on their side when they're like going south.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that's what they're gonna do this next episode.
Like Tyrion gets a raven out or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, they have King's Landing, right?
Who is
our guys, our team?
No.
King's Landing.
Yeah, I thought we had them. I thought we had King's Landing.
No, Cersei's there.
You're thinking of something different.
What do we have under our siege? I thought there was like a plan that didn't go well from the beginning, like Casterly Rock. No, that's what I'm thinking, Casterly Rock.
Oh, I think we still have Casterly Rock.
Yeah, I thought we had Casterly Rock. We being the guys that want to win.
Yeah, I don't remember that ever being returned. If it was, then it was just like a throwaway conversation that didn't matter.
Yeah, I remember it being like we wasted our time getting the rock when we should have been over here, and they lost like their whole army, like that they sent to go secretly get.
I think that's whenever they took Highgarden. Like, Grey Worm went to Casterly Rock, and then no one was there. Jaime went to Highgarden.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Lady Olenna.
So we still have the rock, which I assume is closer to King's Landing than Winterfell. So I mean, maybe we could go to the rock, because if you own the rock, that's supposed to be where like all the money comes in to the Seven Kingdoms.
But we've already been told that they're broke. Mm-hmm. Remember that whole
Tyrion gets
pointless subplot where Tywin was like, "We've got no money."
That's because Tywin was in charge. Now we got the brains back.
Well, the reason they had so much money was because there was gold and gems under the rock,
right?
Which evidently ran dry like
a
generation ago.
Oh, they have Highgarden.
Highgarden had food.
Is that what it was? Okay.
They were fertile lands and so could be prosperous.
Okay.
And that's why they were as wealthy as they were. They just didn't have anything that they wanted, whereas the Lannisters just like literally had raw money.
Yeah.
I just feel like there's more people in Westeros that they could get on their side to go fight Cersei.
They just have to be able to, I mean, that does make sense. And that's such a classic storytelling mechanic. Like, you know, get the the ragtag group gets the word out and the people band against the common enemy. But something that's also been a common thread in this whole series is that the common people don't give a shit who's on the throne.
That's true.
It's all the same to them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably like us and the president. Like nothing really seems to change all that much, no matter who's in office. So. But we all seem to care, a little bit. But we don't matter. So, are we the common people? I thought we were like.
We're
royalty. What did you think we were?
I thought we were like Highgarden, and I'm Highgarden.
I'm
just kidding. Yeah, no, we all want to be the main characters, but we're just the common folk.
Yeah.
So did y'all watch like the next week on Game of Thrones? Did y'all watch that? Did you watch it, Kenneth?
I left it on. I didn't really pay attention though.
Yeah, I watched it. It was dumb. I mean, obviously, like they probably put like little sneaks of like, we didn't show this guy, so is he still around? But that'd be dumb.
Watching the next time on for any show detracts from the narrative. It would be like I finished the chapter of a book and then I read 6 random sentences from the next chapter.
Luckily,
why would I do that? Well, that's not how storytelling works.
No, luckily on this one it was it wasn't a bad preview. It's not like they showed you much. It just showed you shit that you were already thinking was going to happen. Like you see a shot of King's Landing and then you see a shot of Winterfell and then you see a shot of somebody we already knew survived. And then so it's just like bing. And then it shows you like
yeah, but that's still like the same thing.
It didn't.
So even if I don't read 6 sentences, I read 6 words. Like I see.
No, I know, but it didn't spoil
just,
anything. Is all I was saying. It is all stuff that we were thinking anyway.
The narrative is constructed in a specific way because that's how narrative works, and so I don't understand why people watch the next time on.
Yeah, I mean, I did it because it was like, oh, I need a little more Game of Thrones. I mean, that's why they have.
That's what it's for.
Yeah, that's why they have the after. Yeah, the after.
And that's why
with the directors.
Most shows have something of that nature.
Yeah,
it's for that very reason because people want it and people watch it. If it never got watched, they wouldn't waste their money doing it.
For sure.
I just think that it's like one of the dumbest things you can do when you're trying to appreciate a narrative.
No, I had never watched them until this one, and it was because I watched the afterward with the producers or whatever, and I watched them.
That happened to me week 1 cool, because I thought I'll watch the behind the scenes stuff,
and then I caught
and see what they say, and so I was like leaving it on, and I was like checking something on my phone, and then I was like next time, and then they were talking, I was like fuck, and so I didn't but then I'm watching the fucking behind the scenes, and it was like, you see, Daenerys is going into the north, and she can see that the people aren't happy she's there. So she's upset. And I was like, oh, I'm glad that you told me that because I couldn't fucking tell that for myself.
No, I know. When I was watching it, I at least with this episode, the behind the scenes, since it felt like it was all kind of speculating on what they thought would happen in the series, it kind of felt like our podcast. Because it was just us speculating on stuff. So it sounded to them like, well, we decided a long time ago that Arya was going to be the one to take out the Night King. And I was like, oh, okay, well... and the way they were talking about it, I was like, well, that could be, like, so I could have seen how we speculate things like that.
They said they decided it, not George R.R. Martin.
I mean, the team decided. He's the executive producer, so he's probably told them, but I mean...
And it was a really long time ago that it came out that Martin had told them how he intended everything to end in the event that he dies and doesn't get to write it.
Yeah.
So if that's what that ending is...
Man, I hope the books explain more of the Night King and all that stuff.
Oh, they'll give you all the little looks that didn't have any of the insider info, like inside their brain or whatever. We'll get all of those in the book. Yeah. All the subtleties, like if Tyrion thinking like, oh, we're doing this blood pact or this suicide pact or whatever. No, we gotta fight. But that'll be interesting to see. I hope you're right. I hope they do give us more. Like I hope.
Yeah. It would be interesting to see if that's the main fight of the books.
Yeah. Like, that's the ending?
Yeah.
The ending fight?
Is, like, whatever it is that happens with the Night King.
It seems like it should be. Like, this is the thing that started off the series. Like, I think the prologue was the White Walkers, right?
That was like the first scene.
That was the very first one. Mm-hmm. And then the same with the show. It was the very first shot. Seems weird that they just ended. Like, as soon as the threat's here, it's gone.
It seems so...
Yeah, it took no time at all.
For, like, 8 seasons of build-up to get to this fight, it seemed a little, like... Now I feel like it just seemed like it just ended in the season, which halfway through the season. Even.
I feel like less invested in the ending now.
Yeah, then we have a half a season to beat Cersei.
Just go back to Cersei, who's been like the villain since season 1 as well, I guess. Kinda. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm so glad that this season, or not this season, I'm so glad that this fucking show is about to be over. Like, just...
Have you been enjoying it, Will? This so far? Or just as much as you can?
Yeah, I mean, about as much as I can.
Yeah.
The first episode was, whatever. It was the first episode. It was interesting that, well, this was actually in the second episode. It was interesting that Jon told Daenerys the secret, 4 episodes before I thought he was going to. Mm-hmm. The second episode was a huge waste of time. The third episode, this one, the Battle of Winterfell, or I think the actual title of the episode was The Long Night or something like that.
Yeah.
Was, exciting and necessary, but ultimately the only reason it took an entire episode, I think, was because they realized that they can't just kill the Night King like he's nothing. They have to at least make it take an entire episode, an entire 80-minute episode, Yeah. But, I mean, we're halfway through this season, and, I don't care any more than I did going into it. Mm. I don't care any more than I did halfway through the last season, which was not a great season as a whole.
Yeah. Like I said, rewatching it, though, back-to-back, not having to wait weekly, it did make it a little better for me. But
same here.
I think I'm more invested after these 3 episodes because it's finally happening, so I'm getting excited. Mm. Yesterday's episode I thought it was fun. It was all the action everybody had been wanting. The fights that we've been wanting. I mean, a lot of fake deaths, which was frustrating, but it didn't seem to me like they needed it. I heard that they spent 55 days filming this episode, so it didn't seem like they needed to spend that much time filming it. It seemed like they could have done the same, if not if not better story with the 60-minute fight episode, just how the fight at the wall or whatever against the wildlings was an entire episode, but it was all in the normal length. I don't know. I feel like they could have done it in the same amount of time. They didn't need to make it an extra long episode, but
that's because they needed to use a lot of time for slow-mo fight scenes in which we think someone's going to die.
True. They needed to fake us out.
Yeah.
Jamie's good with a sword again. That was weird. Didn't think he'd be good. I thought he'd just be kind of okay.
I guess he's not actually he's not sword fighting anyone though. They don't really sword fight the whites. They just kind of try to stab you. Yeah,
none of them are skilled.
Yeah.
None of the dead are skilled at fighting except for the Night King except for the others. I'm going to continue to call them the others.
This is a good practice fight then.
Right, yeah.
That'd have been cool if he put dragon glass on his golden fist or whatever.
That would be awesome. Yeah. They should have done that.
That would have been cool. And I thought we were going to see Tyrion kill somebody. I don't know why. Because he was in the crypt, so I really don't know why. I guess I got maybe protecting Sansa or something, but...
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they were certainly about 5 seconds away from doing so.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Night King dies.
I think you're right, though. I think next week is going to be Tyrion's episode. He's going to come back into play. He's going to be relevant. If they kill him off, it'll be in episode 5, probably.
Well, now that the fight is over... At least for what they're doing in the North, is they're going to have to spend a lot of time talking. And they're going to have to spend a lot of time figuring out what they want to do. From a real-time standpoint. We're not going to see all of it, obviously. But even just in the time, if we're talking about literal time, them getting from the North to the South is going to take them a month at least. So during that entire time, they're going to be talking and figuring out things. And that's when Tyrion's going to be coming up with this plan. We'll see him implement it in bits and pieces here and there. Him trying to convince Daenerys not to kill Jon just yet. All this sort of different stuff. So
does Tyrion know about his lineage, Jon?
We don't know everything that he knows because they cut away from him talking to Bran in the second episode.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So potentially Tyrion knows everything. Potentially he still knows nothing. We don't know. We just know that he was tell me stuff. And then cut away.
We do know that Jon doesn't know.
That's true.
He knows nothing. So we can count on him to not give us any info. Man, I don't think Dany's going to be pissed. I think she's just going to get over it. I don't know why.
I hope she's pissed. I hope she turns evil, but I feel like they don't have the time to do it anymore. and I don't think they're gonna do
I
it.
feel like she's so loved, man. Like I don't feel like. I mean, I would like that too. I kind of wanted when you pitched that last week as her becoming like a bad guy. I was like, that'd be fun. Like,
and I thought they were setting it up too. Like they made
pissed.
it. Yeah, yeah. And then it could happen. Like Jorah's gone, who was her compass. Moral compass. And so if he's gone, maybe she just goes a little mad. I don't know, but I don't think they have enough time to do it right.
Well, I think you're counting on them being good at doing storytelling anymore.
Yeah, and they're not.
Like counting on them to do it right. Yeah, they don't have time. I don't think either. But
I don't know why they had like short seasons. Even like all the other seasons were like 10 episodes. Like it feels like if they wanted to do like the long version, like the like a long really good one, maybe they would have taken more episodes. But I mean, I'm honestly not too upset with what they're doing. I feel like they're doing a pretty good job having to stray from the books and then not being the creative that Martin is, because he was like a no life kid, like all he did was go to the library all the time, and he literally talked about how like reading books, you get to make like a million friends and experience a million different lives and love like a million different loves, and you fall in love over and over again, and you make friends. It's just talked about like the magic of reading and like how cool it is. So like he's obsessed with stories and reading, and that's probably how he has. And I mean, I know a lot of it's based in true story, like the Lancaster Rebellion or something is oddly similar to the Lannister history. Like they literally had like sibling relationships, like incest and child kings and like all kinds of stuff like what we see in Game of Thrones. Like I know he literally used the Lancasters as a parallel for the Lannisters, and I was tempted to do some historical research on them and see how it ends for them, to see if maybe he wrote it that way. But I mean, I know that's why the book grabs so well, because he wrote a lot of it based on some things in history. Like the wall is like based on, not the Great Wall, but like a wall that has been built like to hold out people. I mean,
yeah. I wish they would try a little more to be a good, like, I don't know, just try a little more. Because I feel like they see the end and they're running toward it.
There's nothing subversive anymore.
They're not, there's nothing unexpected.
It's like super, it's unique. Just so Hollywood now.
Yeah. No, I think you said it really good, Kenneth. They see the end and they're
sprinting
straight line. They're sprinting for the ending. Because they're ready. They're not going to make any more money if they make it more immersive or more whatever we were just saying.
They got the audience. Everyone's watching.
They're not getting new people.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think they're going straight for the ending. And I mean, I guess I don't know how much better they could do, is what I'm trying to think. I mean, maybe they could do a lot better. I feel like I guess I'm probably the least like harsh critic. Because I just want to be positive. I don't know. I don't want to think of it as being like bad after spending this much time on it. But what were you saying?
I mean, I was feeling good up until this episode. Like I thought last episode, I was like, okay, I'm ready for it. Give me all that fan service. I'm gonna watch everybody die and shed a tear, and I'll be happy, sad.
Surprised none of them died.
And none of them died. I didn't learn anything.
Yeah.
And okay,
just
let's finish it out, I guess.
Yeah.
Was there any big reveal?
Not this episode, no.
No, other than who.
I mean, the big reveal. Yeah, exactly.
But that's not really like storyline big reveal. It's just kind of like a question we all had.
Yeah, exactly.
And I feel weird that Bran's still alive. Like he's such
I do too.
He's such the counterpart to the Night King. Like, what does he do now?
And when he didn't kill the Night King, it's like, okay, well, yeah, exactly. Now what do you do? Like, we all had your role set out to take care of this bad guy, and now.
Also, does like Bran know how everything ends?
Maybe.
Like, does he have the future answers? Because I feel like that's how you tie up, like, a being like him in most stories, is that he knows that, or they know that they die with the ending of the main problem. And they don't tell anybody that.
Kind of like Melisandre.
Yeah. They don't tell anybody that because everybody's like, oh no, we can't let you die, blah, 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 and all that sort of stuff. We're going to do something different. And so then whenever they die, then we don't get to see whatever, like, the rest of the story is from there.
He sees the future, though, doesn't he?
I don't think so either. I think the way they described it, at least in the show, was that he sees like every past that's ever happened and all the present that is going on at this.
Yeah, but he knew that Jaime was going to arrive in Winterfell.
Because he saw
Jaime
in the present coming to Winterfell.
Okay.
That, I mean, I guess, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's my only
I think
guess.
so. And like Jojen could see the future. Like he was, right?
Yeah, he would green sea. That was a different
green
ability.
sea.
Yeah, he was a green seer. You're right. I completely forgot about. I forgot his name, dude.
How does a three-eyed raven not be able to see the future, but some dude from the marsh can? I don't know. It's
Yeah,
just,
No, it does seem weird.
there's just no rules. There's no rules. Which is fine. There doesn't have to be rules. I just feel like they spent a lot of time pretending like there were rules.
Yeah,
and now
when they're trying to wrap everything up, and
Well, I feel like
they can't use the rules.
We're probably just
Don't
upset
exist.
because I think the rules still matter for the books. I think we're trying to make them matter because I think that's why George R. R. Martin has 2 executive writers with him to make sure he does follow all his groundwork because he's not writing it by himself anymore. I think he's got people fact checking him on his own mythos and lore so that he doesn't mess anything up.
Well, you can't expect a man of that age to be able to do it on his own anymore. I don't think.
I expect
To be able to.
I don't expect anything. Honestly, I'm just like, write it at your own pace, man. Like, you do you. Like, if you finish it, that would be awesome. I'll read your book. I'll support you still. But like, I don't rush it, dude. Because if you rush it and do what these guys are doing, like, you'll see the ending and you'll shoot straight for it. Like, people rushing authors to finish a series for their benefit, it's like, dude, let them finish their art, and then once they do, it's 50% yours. Like, it's 50% theirs, 50% ours, and just wait until it's ours. But I mean, I'm usually not disappointed with book endings because I like how the author just wanted it to end that way. I mean, I've kind of learned that a little bit with our book podcast. Just like, I'm not as upset with endings, but I think there are things like, I wanted this to happen and this to happen, of course, just like everything. But I'm never too upset, I think, with how the author wanted it to end. So I mean, but I guess this is different. This isn't how the author wanted it.
Yeah,
maybe it is, but I'm sure he's not upset about this series.
Not upset about the fucking money that's in his bank.
Oh yeah, dude. It took him forever to get these books taken off. You know, like these aren't his only books.
Yeah,
he's a weird writer. Like, he's just fun to talk about.
Well, I guess that's probably about it.
Yeah.
You gonna rate it again?
Yeah, rate it, Kenneth. What do you think?
4.
4.
4 out of 10. Like some decent action. I liked that Arya killed the Night King, and I liked Beric Dondarrion's sacrifice.
That was cool, yeah.
Other than that, it's kind of a mess.
For me, I'd probably say it's probably about as good as the last one. I mean, I didn't fall asleep during this one. It gave me the same amount of reveals as the last one. Like, there were 2 good reveals. There were probably about 2 good ones in this one. So it held my attention the whole time. Like, it was fun. I don't think it's the best episode of the show, but going in knowing the whole episode was going to be a fight, I wasn't expecting too much for plot. Just a little bit more of just like a couple loose ends getting solved, and then hopefully the end of the Night King, resolve the Night King thing. But yeah, I mean, I think the episode did what I wanted to do. I'd give it. I don't remember what I gave last week. I think I gave it a 7. Yeah, so I'd give it a 7 again.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'd probably give it a 6.
Last week was on the upper echelon. It was on a 4.
Well, because last week was a waste of time.
Yeah, this week wasn't.
Looking at it, like, if last week's episode was a standalone episode that was just, like, introduced to, like, the left of the show existing.
Right, like, if
but
you're
it's
going to get a
taking
friend
up,
to watch that.
it's taking up a 7th of this season.
Yeah.
And nothing happened.
Yeah.
It's a waste of time. And so if you look at it from the, like, whole product of the 7th or this last season, it's absolutely pointless and wasting everybody's time.
Yeah.
On its own, yes, it's enjoyable. Mm-hmm. You want to see those character interactions, but that's on its own.
Yeah.
And when you look at it as a package, that's why I decided that it's like the biggest waste of time and a 4. This week was necessary for the plot, although not a ton of things happened. Like I already said, there's like a couple of reveals, and neither of them were huge reveals. They resolved the Night King in the way that I thought they would by just fucking doing it. So, it was a better episode. It was a far more necessary episode. But it was also by far a perfect example of how Game of Thrones is not what it used to be.
Yeah.
So 6.
All right.
Yeah. That's good. I mean, I'd probably show somebody this episode over last week's if I wanted them to, like, if I had to show them an episode from this season to get them excited.
If you showed somebody who knew nothing about Game of Thrones last week's episode, they'd be like, why do I care about any of these interactions? You know what I mean?
but look at how much you could care. You could cry along with me when Brienne gets knighted, or you could be a cold-hearted, monster like the Night King. So, which we see both those in the last episode. So. they would understand those references.
This show's stupid. This show's stupid. I'm so happy it's over.
Yeah, I'm glad we're talking about it though. I never get to like fully indulge myself, and this is fun. Like this last season has been a lot of fun. Everybody's like,
yeah, doing these episodes is the best part of this season.
it's the most fun for me. I mean, watching it, I talk my ear off, but it's more self-satisfying kind of stuff. This is like brainstorming all the stuff that like we love and know about the show. It's just fun. It's fun quizzing all of ourselves, and we've all taken it in a different way too.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
It's really interesting, especially because I know you've watched a couple of fan theory videos. I don't know if you watched any for this week or after this episode or anything, but I know, a couple of weeks ago you were watching them before the show came out. So that was interesting too, to see like if you had got anything from those or or what all you figured out, because you haven't read them, right?
I've read the first book. That's
okay.
it.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I feel like I've been like on a roller coaster ride this season because I was getting like hyped up, and I was reading the first book. I finished it, caught up with the series. And then watched the last episode last week, and I was like, this is like the tearful goodbye. The next episode is going to be like sad, everyone's going to die. And it just kind of ruined the last episode for me, too.
Well, they got 3 more. They'll get you back.
Yeah, probably.
Well. Oh, well. If there's anything we can take away from today,
the Night King was pointless.
It said in 1986 on this day, Roger Clemens struck out 20 Seattle Mariners.
Who's that?
You just heard.
I know, I missed it. What was the name?
Roger Clemens.
Roger Clemens. Oh, yes.
You know that name.
I literally wouldn't have been able to say that dude's name back to you after Will had just said it. I was going to say like Robert Clemens. Instead, was it Robert or Roger?
Roger.
See, I already forgot.
People have at least heard Roger Clemens' names, even if you didn't know he was a baseball player.
It sounds familiar, I guess. Yeah.
Oh.
1986?
Mm-hmm.
God, get a new game, baseball. Jeez, so old.
It's way older than that. Way older than that.
Would you rather
33 years ago.
How old do you think baseball is? Baseball or Game of Thrones?
Huh? Wait, Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
That's the wrong choice.
Well, I mean, if you like baseball, I can see why. I watched a thing of like speaking of baseball. It was like a YouTube clip of like all these like crazy baseball moments. There was this guy pitching, and he pitches the ball. He's like a lefty, and he throws it, and then there's a big explosion of
hits
feathers.
The bird.
He hit the bird with his pitch. Or with
That's everyone's favorite video.
85 mile an hour pitch. That's so funny.
It's explosive.
I thought the guy hit it with the bat, or I thought he hit the bird with the bat, or I thought he hit the bird with the ball after hitting the pitch. But he hit it with the pitch.
Shit was crazy.
Yeah, but
anyways,
yeah, I'm excited. I think we're good.
I think so. See you on a couple of days with Descendant of the Crane. We're coming to the end of that. We'll have one more episode of that after this Wednesdays, and then after that, we'll see you again with more of me hating on Game of Thrones next Monday.
And a new book next Wednesday. Well, y'all will find out what.
Yeah, we're gonna do the last episode of Descendant of the Crane next Wednesday, and then also decide on the next book. So I'll be looking forward to that. And that's about it.
Nice. Thanks for having me on again, guys.
Yeah, let us know y'all's fan theories. Reach out to us. Use our same email for Dog Ears and Timestamp. dogearsandtimestamps@gmail.com. I said that.
Yes.
You know what I meant?
Yeah.
Send
Twitter
us stuff.
and Instagram and all the shit. Find us there. Tell us things. Tell me how I'm wrong. Nobody agrees with any of my ideas. Everybody I talk to about this stupid show says that I'm dumb.
You had some good ones.
Nah. I'm right. I know I'm right. I'm Will Hedrick.
I'm Jordan Schaffer.
I'm Kenneth Garman.
And this is Dog Ears and Timestamps. Go Bruins, go Rockets.